Lately, Rick Rubin has been having a massive impact on my life. I was actually crying just a little bit earlier, just about how much his book has been making a difference in terms of helping me make sense of my life. And he talks a lot about being an artist, and I really connect with that word. This book is just so incredible, and I've been watching podcast with Rick Rubin, and I was thinking about this in the shower earlier today, and it's come up again because I'm watching a podcast right now with a jujitsu guy that I just find very funny. His name is Renato Nara, Laranja. Is this guy right here? Dude, this guy is just so funny to me, man. And I was thinking he I'm just like, I'm observing him because I'm observing him because there's also qualities that he has that I want to possess, right? Like, I get to see his confidence, especially when it comes to women, which is something that I feel over the course of my life, I felt like I had more terror of than actual confidence with. And I was just thinking, right? I'm observing him and I'm listening to him and I'm laughing, and I think about how I'm in such a susceptible state to be influenced, right? Like little things he may say, or my brain actually is like an open channel for ideas and permeate and being it's like it's permeable, right? And I was thinking about that for myself with my audience. It's like, okay, man, like there's a lot of power that comes with me speaking to this video, because if you've watched my other videos or you're watching this one and you feel like you like my delivery, or you feel like you like where my heart is already at, um it's like, you're open to suggestion, right? You're open to hearing what I have to say, and you may take some of what I mention into your life, and it can really have an impact. And it just made me just be more aware of, like, man, like, what you have is responsibility, because I know that I've been put on this earth to make a difference. I know it. My story plus the skills that I possess plus how I look plus who I am, like, there none of this was a mistake. None of this, just how my life even unfolded, none of this is a mistake. And with that, just recognizing, like, all right, hey man, you're gonna have people who are gonna be listening to you, and they're gonna be listening to you like gospel. They're gonna be listening to you to help them through their own challenges and problems, because you're talking about your own problems, and you're talking about how you're working through it and how you're thinking through it. And I may inspire somebody in a different way. And so yeah, it just made me really think about the impact that I can really potentially have on the people who are listening to this and watching this. And I want to let you know that I'm becoming more aware of my own power. For a long time, I had people who I respected and admired. Typically, that was like people who were doing, seven figures plus in their business, and just like people telling me how great I am. And I never really saw that in myself. I never really saw that in myself. I was confused. I was so confused. Like, oh, like, what? You want to connect with me? Like, when Joe Polish said that he's going to mentor me, it was at Genius. It was at his Genius Network event, and he said it. He said it in front of the whole room. He is like 300 people in that room, and he said he's going to personally mentor me to help me, basically make money from my network. And I'm like, what? what did he just say? Oh my God, what? That was so crazy, man. And for me, I didn't understand it. And I feel that with my yoga practice and meditation and journaling, I feel like I'm becoming more aware of my power. And not just that, but I feel like I'm stepping into that power. I'm leaning into that power each day, and I feel like I can see that in my interactions that I have. The way that I communicate is different. The way that I am around people is different. And this is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. I feel like I just went on this huge journey, and I built myself so much over the last 8 years, from 19 to basically now. I'll 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 end it where the travel ended, right? So basically 7 years of working my ass off and constantly putting myself in situations of discomfort, and then for the grand finale of it all, I travel the world, and I go through this huge journey of survival, and then I have to take this time off to really become a new one, really rejuvenate and recuperate and rethink and really pivot in my life. And now I get to take, I think back to, I was talking to my first mentor the other day on the phone. I still talk to him weekly. We're gonna go on a camping trip to Yosemite soon. I remember I wanted him to be my mentor before he ever became my mentor, because my brother-in-law used to take me to school, and he would, like, I was only in school for like 3 hours of the day, right? So he would take me to his office, and I would be in the office. It's like set up a computer for me, and like, you know, at this time I'm like 18 years old. I'm just watching The Office on Netflix. I'm just like waiting for time to go by. I never been the best student. I was the kid who copied homework throughout high school and middle school. I've always been a connector, that's for sure. I always I always been a connector, man. I've always been a people person, that's for sure. And man, where was I going? I completely forgot. What was I just talking about? So okay, I was talking about impact. Um, so I would just sit in the office, and I remember there was this guy who I would see around the office. I remember our first interaction. He talked about the difference between Generation Y and the Millennial generation and Generation Z. It seemed like he was interested in this generation thing. He's like, "Yeah, I'll send it to you." So I read it. I read through it. I was like, "Okay." But then I connected with him some more, and I would see him, and his name was Greg. I'd be like, "Good morning, Greg." He'd be like, "Good morning, Greg." And this dude was, I remember it was like Halloween, and I was like walking up to him at his desk, and I was like, "This dude is buff as fuck." He's like, it's like he was older too. I was like, this guy looks like he's like in his 50s, and he's like fucking jacked. And yeah, he was just like, he was just so easygoing. He was so cool. And one day my brother-in-law was like, "Hey, ask him, like, you ask him about his story, like he has a crazy ass story." So I went to the office. It was Halloween, and I forgot, he was wearing this wig, and I forgot who he was. And he was talking. I asked him about his story. He starts telling me his story, and his hair kept getting into his mouth. He's like, "Plah, plah, 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 plah." And then he's like, "You head to hell with this wig." And he had he told me his story about how he came across Tony Robbins, and how Tony Robbins like changed his life, and how he was a millionaire in the 90s, and then how he lost his money in the 2000s. And it was a story unlike I've ever heard before. And I remember, I was gonna send him an email asking him to mentor me, but I was like, but his daughter wants to be like a life coach. I don't know if she's gonna get upset that I didn't ask her. I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I didn't send it. So I I go to this event and I meet this guy who's 22 years old, and he had paid for an event that was $5,000. I said, "How the hell did you make enough money to pay for that?" He said, "I sell timeshares in Hawaii." I said, "Oh, okay, sales, huh? Sales." So that the next couple of days was the 4th of July, and I told my brother-in-law, I said, "Hey, I think I might be getting into sales." He goes, "Hey, you should come down to talk to my sales manager, Greg. He gives his sales reps a test that Tony Robbins gives his sales rep to determine whether or not you'd be a good sales rep." I said, "Oh yeah, of course, I'll go down." So I went down a couple of days later, and I remember we're sitting in this conference room, and there's like this whiteboard right here, and he takes a marker, and he goes, puts a dot, right, and then he draws a circle around it. And as I'm telling the story, I'm getting chilled because look at this. Whoa, look at this. The circle. Oh my God, dude, I'm tripping out just about that connection I just made in my brain. Wow. And he said, he basically was like, this dot is you, and this circle is your comfort zone. Now, when you exit your comfort zone, let's say you exit over here, well, what happens is your circle doesn't just get bigger here, your entire circle gets bigger. And he would say, like, the more discomfort you put yourself in, the bigger that circle expands. And now all of a sudden, things that are unrelated to the discomfort task, you're able to do because you have been expanding your circle. And I feel like that's where I've been, and that's what I've done. And I feel like that's helped me remove layers of myself. And that Kanye West lyric, everything I'm not made me everything I am. And I never really understood that, but until I did so much, I did so many different things to realize, like, man, that shit wasn't me, that wasn't me, that wasn't me. And it was a constant journey to find who I am and then live through that truth. And right now it's like I'm living through that truth. And just all the discomfort I put myself through is like helping me out for this next journey. And that's why I'm like drawn to door because I'm like, man, this is the next best. This is the best thing for my spiritual being, my spirit, like, to help assist me in my spiritual awakening. It's such a beautiful thing, man. It's so beautiful. My goodness, is door to door just something about it is just so magical. It's like, oh man, I can't wait to go back, dude, because that's a beast. And I'll tell some door to door stories, throughout this channel. But yeah, I'm excited to really step into the responsibility of, like, hey, you know what? I'm really here to help whoever I'm called to help, and I'm not here to help everybody. That's for sure. I'm not here to help most people. I am here to make a significant impact in a few people, and me being called forth to do this is, and me getting clues to do this is 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 worth it, because if it wasn't worth it, I wouldn't be called to do this. So even if I make impact in one life, that one life could have a huge ripple, just like my mentor Greg did. He poured into me, and he helped me out tremendously, and that ripple is strongly because of him as well. So think about that. It's crazy. One person can have such a massive ripple. So anyway, that is it, because I'm about to actually run out of memory in my camera. So peace out.